Who wants to start us off? We'll go with Jordan.
Coach Norvell mentioned that there were a lot of misfits in the run game and that contributed to a lot of Miami's success on the ground. Is that also what you see? Just can you evaluate that portion of the game?
It was a combination. Obviously, there were a few misfits. There was a heavy volume of run game in that game, but a combination of just linebackers on a misfit or a defensive line getting bumped out of a gap or a missed tackle by a DB. Those were the collection of when the run game got established. What created that, and that was self-inflicted, something that shouldn't happen. And obviously, can't allow some run games to get out like it did.
Ira?
How do you kind of address the guys on your side of the ball in a game where you do limit so many of the things that Miami has been doing in terms of the big plays and passing offense and all that, but on the other side, the running game, obviously they got you some there, and the loss is the most important thing. So how do you focus on the things that were positive while also acknowledging the big picture?
Just try to be consistent, Ira. The first drive was unacceptable, and the 13 points in the fourth quarter. We got to help our team win the football game. And sometimes that's the defense, creating a takeaway or creating better stops on third down, whatever that has to be. And we did. Every week you go in there with a plan of what do we have to do to win the game, specifically on your side of the ball, and then you got to take some certain things away. And some of the things we took away, but some of the things we didn't, and we didn't do a good enough job on defense to win the game, and that's the bottom line. And there's areas that we can be better, and I give them credit. They did a good job up front, but thought we covered them and thought we negated the quarterback for the most part, but not enough to win it. And so that's the disappointing part of it. And now we just got to get them back and get them playing even better. And I do believe we can. I'm disappointed in the outcome of Saturday night, not just about the loss. Obviously that is painful and takes your breath away every second of the day. But there are certain games you go out and you say, wow, I don't know how, whether it's just we got overwhelmed or if it's a scheme or whatever. But in that game, as the game's going, at no point did I feel like we shouldn't have made stops, constantly. And it's frustrating and creates some anger in you when it doesn't happen.
Liam?
Coach, with third downs and even fourth downs against Miami, they were 8 of 14 on third and 3 and 3 on fourth. A couple of them third and 20 and a couple third and longs. When you get them in that position, especially with an offense like that, how demoralizing can it be to a defense to let those big plays happen and continue a drive? And how do you address that going forward?
Well, that wasn't odd for that team to be in third and longs. Statistically, they just had executed all of them. In the 2 3rd and 20s, we weren't necessarily as tight as we wanted to be on the one check down, but we just got to go tackle them and get that play off. And then, the holding on Blake on the other 3rd and 20, you can't hold, and so those things have to be done. And we had a plan on some of these third downs that we executed some, and some they made a play or two, and just you got to work hard for those third longs. And when you don't end up on the right side, you got to reevaluate what you're doing or how you're doing it, and you got to make sure that the plays are made when they need to be made. I own everything. When it doesn't work, but there's ownership across the board.
Peter?
Coach, since taking over the starting lineup in place of DJ, Omar has really been very impactful and made some good plays. Thoughts about his growth from the beginning of the season when he's back injuries to right now, is just getting better at each week.
Yeah, he's playing the best football he's played since he's been here. Injuries have unfortunately played a toll with him, but those are just excuses. They happen. Now he's playing better. He's a little bit healthier. The confidence is showing up with him, and he's the player that I recruited out of Stranahan, and he's getting better right now. And I think his arrow's pointing up, and looking forward to that even building for this week. But he's somebody that I've always thought has a high football IQ. He's a good enough athlete, a good enough foot speed. smart, tough. It's just, we gotta create that momentum of being on the field consecutively enough that it's starting to mount up again. And so I'm excited for him, but I know at the end of the day, he just wants to win, and we're all hungry for that.
Corey?
You mentioned the holding on Blake. He's a kid that I foresee being a pretty big part of this program moving forward on that defense. How much of that is a teaching moment for him? Just the game awareness of 3rd and 22, maybe don't give him a free 5 yards and an automatic first down, make him earn it. Like, how much of that is a teaching moment? Have you talked to him about it since then? And how frustrating was it? That was a lot of questions in one.
But it's all the same question, and I'm with you, Corey. That's something you hit in spring practice. It's something you hit in fall camp. It's something you hit situationally. And there's certain times on those long distances that sometimes you play, rush 3, drop 8, zone stuff, but it all comes back to your defending people and what is their personality. And, they showed on those long distances, like there's no check downs. I mean, they're trying to get the first down. And so you have to do certain things to try to take those things away. And, the minute Blake made the mistake, you could tell it was early in the down, he kind of grabbed them. The guy was trying to get free, but not really. And I don't think we were going to call it until it turned into a scramble and the back became the option on the play. And then it was like, okay, that happened 5 seconds ago, but it was. So it's all part of it. I brought it obviously immediately following the play once we get off the field. He owned it, he knew, and then I showed it again yesterday just because, if he held him on 3rd and 4, it's still not good, but the impact of and that's why, sometimes on those really big yardages, teams really don't play a lot of man coverage because jump balls, guy just jumps back in you, gets a freebie. But sometimes when offenses show that they're gonna do certain things identifiably on those down distances, you need to adapt to them from a standpoint of knowing what they're gonna do, and you do things to take it away. And we'd make the same call, we just would play different. And him not making that decision.
Ira?
Earl and Ashlin got a lot of playing time, and Earl, I think he's only made the move to safety a few weeks ago. How did they do overall, and then also did you see them growing during the course of the game?
Yeah, I mean, we made a decision about 4 weeks ago with Earl. Once Eddie, has really started to come on at nickel, and Earl wasn't playing well enough. And me and him spoke because I think there's a really good football player in Earl, and it's my job to find how to use that good football player in a positive way so he can go have team success, because he wants to win, he wants to play well. And so, even out of high school, I knew there'd be a possibility that he could play a lot of different positions. But as I got to know him more, as we got to work with him, I thought that was the right move. And so we moved him. It took a little bit because he's never really done it before. And then, actually, the Clemson week, we were starting to get there with him a little bit. And then, he had a few issues of not for practice, like he got sick, missed a few days, and I wanted to put him in probably more than he was ready to give him the opportunity with the right amount of practice. And so we tried to hold back on that Duke game a little bit just because he had missed a few days. But then he had a full week this week, so the plan was to get him in early. And he's a physical tackler. He's an aggressive player. He's got a lot of football to him. He's got ball skills, and now, we're just trying to mount those reps up for him because I think he's got a bright future at that position. And I'm excited about what the future holds for him. And Ashlin, he's been helping us on special teams, and I thought he showed up with some physicality on Saturday night. He's been somebody that we've spot rotated here over the last 2 years. And so, his opportunity has really come up because now he's done a good job on special teams. And so we see that moving forward for him too.
Brenda?
I guess following up on that, you guys haven't been shy to move around pieces at safety to get the right players in there. Can you just explain the process of being willing to make a legitimate position change in the middle of the season? What's gone into that?
Yeah, I think it falls under the umbrella of just doing what's best for the team and the individual and trying to make sure there's a balance there. And that's every decision I make. I try to look at it, okay, what's going to help us play the best this week, 1A, and for the future 1B, and it's always in that way. And then for the team 1A, and then for the individual. And there are some moves that when you recruit somebody, you have a vision, and maybe that vision changes when they are here. Sometimes you hit, and you can't be scared of changes. It's just part of it. Especially, you don't just change a change. When you have information and you learn information, then you make the necessary adjustments. And whether we've done it over the years with a bunch of guys, and usually we've even done it slightly even at linebacker of this guy plays well in the boundary, and then we're going to put him in the field. That's not as noticeable. It's more noticeable when you move Akeem Dent, when you move Jerry Jones, when you move Earl Little, when you move those type of positions, or Keir Thomas, from outside to inside. And so I think the number one job as a coach, besides developing people, is the ability to evaluate and then put those positions and put those people in the positions that they should be in.
Court?
It's another Earl Little question, but I don't know if it's fresh legs, hadn't played as much as other guys in the secondary, but he seemed to be faster and more physical than we'd seen from that position, coming downhill and playing with that physicality. Is that the main thing you like about him? Is that something you knew he would bring, to just be that kind of violent when he goes and makes collisions?
Corey, he reminds me of Jamie, from that movement and that ability. And when we brought Jamie in here, he was a nickel, and then Kevin Knowles started to play, and we really had a need at safety, and so as I got to know Earl, because he hasn't played a lot of college football, with some injuries, he had a battle, and even with the spring, he was limited. So, just as the games were going early in the season, and as we were putting him out there, and we just had more time with him, that was the piece and the person that I can say, I can visualize him playing like Jamie, in that world, because they're both, accelerators, they're both contact players, they both have the ability to change direction, and so there's a lot of that body type and a lot of that skill set in him. So I think as I say that to you, you can maybe see that as you watch those clips, and so I think there's more of that to come.
Aslan?
Coach, I know there's so much expectations on this entire team going to the season, and maybe no more on a certain segment than your front four. How much of moving forward right now with those guys is kind of coaching them, I guess, mentally, emotionally, rather than the football-related stuff to get what you need out of them?
I think right now, sitting where we're at, you're coaching every person in the building emotionally, because nobody expected to be in this situation. And so, you're constantly trying to coach the details of the importance of all things and trying to get the focus the way it needs to be so that the work can be done out there. What I am optimistic about that front is I do think, I know Josh wasn't as productive Saturday as he's been the last couple weeks, but he's been getting better. And I think you guys have noted, he's in the backfield, he's making plays. And then these are the back-to-back, the best 2 weeks Daryl Jackson has played. And so, because that's good for them, which is good for us, which shows them that the work and the intent and the coaching, and it's all connecting for them. Because, listen, team success equals individual recognition. That's technically usually how it all goes. But that's not to say you can't have success through losses. And so we're trying to show them the things that it takes to be successful individually, and just doing that within a team atmosphere, and to see some of that growth on those guys inside. And I think that's good. KJ Sampson played 20 snaps for us, can be better, but we're playing that 8 to 9 people inside and outside and up front. I still think there's room there, and I'm fighting my butt off to make sure that gap gets closed every day.
We have 2 more, starting with Ira.
Yeah, I was gonna follow up on Daryl. Obviously physically coming off the plane, he's the guy everybody's gonna notice. How has he improved, and what's been the difference for him, these last few weeks?
Well, I think a big part, Ira, is just you know, it's fine to learn the techniques. It's fine to try to replicate the techniques in practice. Then all of a sudden you play and you have a game and you don't make a tackle or you don't have a sack and you're like, okay, this stuff isn't gonna work. Like, I made plays in high school doing it my way. And that's not a selfish thing, that's a human nature thing. And so there's the learn, apply, success. Oh, keep doing that. Learn, apply, oh wait, how come I'm not making the plays that I think I'm gonna make? I mean, Braden Fisk goes back last year and spoke about that himself, about, you know, I started pressing, I wasn't making the plays. And then until he just settled back down and trusted how to play defense in a way that you're using the others around you, next thing you know, you wake up and you have 2 sacks, you know, and you got a hit on the quarterback in the first series. And I think there takes some, I don't want to say maturity, that's the wrong word, just takes some playing, you know, it takes some, you know, reps, it takes time sometimes. And, you know, you don't want it to take time. You know, you want it to happen yesterday, but I think that's what's with Daryl, you know, and I think now you're seeing the technique, the effort, the understanding, and then trusting that I'm just going to keep doing that play after play after play. Then my talent is going to show and it's going to take over. So I think that's how you're adding up for Daryl.
Brendan, for the last one.
Two questions. One is a lot of people on our board will ask about Tomi and kind of where he is in his development. And then second, the substitution infractions, like, can you just walk through what's happening? How do you clean those up moving forward?
Well, Tomi, I mean, he's been practicing with us all year, and, you know, we've stayed healthy at that position. And, you know, early in the season, it was close because we weren't productive. And then those guys that were at the top started to become more productive. They're starting to play better. And we've had some packages that, you know, Tomi was going to go in at end, and it just hasn't matched up yet. And so, you know, he was out there Sunday, and, you know, I still think there's ability there, and there's a good player in there. And so, you know, he is a younger player. I know he's played some football at some other places. We just got to stay on it. In regard to the 2 penalties, I mean, that's, at the end of the day, I'm the defensive coordinator. That's on me. So it can't happen. You know, at no point do we sub when teams don't sub. Like, that's just, it's something we can't do. And so I got to be better. It's a 3rd and 5. We're off the field. They throw a ball 5 yards over the receiver's head on an incomplete pass. We're off. Doesn't happen. And so we got to go play more football. So unacceptable at all levels. And, you know, I'm the guy that makes all those decisions. So when it happens, it's on me.